So welcome again to our amazing Super Monday, and this time we will crack the puzzle genre. My name is Guy Agiv. I'm leading the product design unit in Supersonic, and this is Uri. Uri.
Hey everyone, I'm leading the market research and more at SuperSonic.
So this time, as I said, we'll talk about puzzles and two things that you need to know. One, you can win up to $8,000. You just need to find us our next hit with CPI, which lower than 80 cents, and with day one retention, which is higher than 40%. And one more thing, feel free to text us via chat any question during this session. And once we will end this part, we can ask your questions. So let's start. Uri.
Cool. Everyone, so the agenda for today will be why puzzles, why this promotion is around puzzles. You obviously play, you see the market, and we'll talk about this. What's trending, what type of puzzles we look for, what's interesting, and we will finalize with tips to how do you build your puzzle hit. So let's start. So why puzzles? You obviously seen the market in the past few months. Again, 20% of top games in downloads are puzzle games. Again, gem puzzles, sword puzzles, simulation puzzles. We will talk about all of them, but we see puzzles very strong in downloads, but also new hybrid casual games. The casual puzzles are making up 10% of top grossing puzzles. If in the past, we talk about this as well, if puzzles were mainly with ads and RVs, now we see that puzzles make much more in-app purchase revenues, and we will see them in top grossing puzzle charts. Puzzle FI, playtime and retention. Those puzzles can work. They have nice day 7, nice day 1. And as we said, if we saw in the past, those puzzles mainly do making nice downloads. Again, the Wuduku, the water sort, different puzzles that were always in top charts, but mainly monetized with ads, interstitials and RVs. And now we see more type of puzzles that monetize mainly with in-app purchase. We can see examples, for example, the Blockjet, Twisted Angle, Hexasort, and we can see that like if puzzles with hyper, hybrid, casual made money mainly with ads. Now in the past year or so, we see a much more aggressive in-app purchase, a much more harder puzzle, pushing users to make purchase, and this will continue to be strong in this year and the next years as well. So what's trending in the puzzles?
Yes, so we'll drill down into two interesting subgenres. So one of them is the gem puzzle, which is very, very popular lately. The core elements are pretty simple. We have the container. It can be a bus, it can be an airplane, or even a toolbox. We'll see some examples soon. The items or the objects, like the character or the players, and a limited slots. Here's where the monetization is hiding. Must have, guys, simple mechanic, increasing difficulty, casual gameplay, very appealing visuals, and addictive nature. Uri.
Yeah, and if we talk about how those puzzles evolve, we can see a few examples. For example, Match 3D was kind of a hybrid puzzle a few years ago. And what Triple Match and Match Factory did is simply adding on top of the time limit. They also added this space limit, the bar, that is very common in gem puzzle, making the puzzle much more harder. This is another great example of a classic puzzle game of tile matching that Zen Match and Tilebuster just took it and made it much more complex, adding the limited bar that we talked about in gem puzzles. And this is how those puzzles evolve. They can bring simple changes, but keep the same addictive puzzle that was in the past, but just making it much more harder to monetize those puzzles later. And if those are two older examples, those are 3 new examples from the past year. Again, the gem puzzles, the limited space, the match 3 items in the same color, some with physics, some with simple items, simple colors. And this is more of a trending, again, just changing the layout, bringing something new to the table. And this is how those puzzles kind of keep the same limited bar, same match free, very simple puzzles, but kind of innovate with a different and new layout.
Okay, so this is one thing. Another is sort games, when players need to manipulate pieces to arrange them in a specific order. You can see in this example from Lion, it can be a cake, but mainly it's sorted about the shape. It can be colors or numbers or size, anything that you can think of. Must have. So the gameplay must be intuitive, very simple. We should have a variety, and the interface should be very user-friendly. Don't forget appealing design and replayability. Popular mechanics, drag and drop, swap and match, rotation, limited move, time limits, or any other thing that you can think of.
Yeah, and like more example for sort games as we saw with gem puzzles, again, similar drag and drop gameplay, layout, UI, just different type of objects, different sorting, different colors, different themes, and this is the innovation that like is enough in puzzles. You can take mechanics that work, that you know that are in top puzzle games. We just innovate a little bit, change them, and make something completely new. So we talked about gem puzzles and sort puzzles that have much higher playtime and retention, but we still see simulation games bringing the nice CPI, the creatives showing very simple puzzles. Again, not putting a lot of items on the screen, a lot of assets, very simple puzzle games that can appeal for all. More of the story, the simulation, those puzzles can still bring the nice CPI. Yes, they're not monetized as strong as the other puzzles that we noticed, but again, if you're not an expert in puzzles, we can still test those of simulation games with creatives that can start with lower CPI.
Okay. Now it's your time to take your notebook out and write some tips. Uri,
Yeah, I'll go first. And again, we give you some tips how to create your next puzzle hit. So again, add a twist to your layout. Again, bring something new. Again, we tested a lot of similar games to the games that are in top chart. Usually they bring nice games, but the one that do bring amazing numbers are the one that innovate. Again, changing the layout. Again, keeping the same. If you gem puzzle, for example, keeping the same limited space, but changing it into taking an older puzzle and making it more gem puzzle with a limited space, bring a different layout, a different theme, a different way of thinking of how to play the puzzles. So we don't ask for much of innovation, but again, just a tiny innovation, play with the layout, play with the items, bring something new to the table, and usually it works and creates something new because it's hard to stand out in this market full of different puzzles.
Another tip is about elevating the gameplay. In this example, you can see how many examples they added to the core mechanics. In the left one, you can see a very popular one, which is the tunnels, or like the tied up people. In the middle one, there are some frozen people that you need to tap on another character that next to the frozen character in order to hit it. Or unknown, it helps us to plan the core mechanic and allow the economy team or the level designer to decide about the difficulty. In the right one, you can see some unavailable people. When they put the Uri on, you cannot use them, and only when it's off, you can tap on them. So it makes another layer of complexity in the game, and you should look for those layers in order to enhance your gameplay.
Yeah, another great tip would be theme. Again, theme can help you with CPI, with creatives. Again, in Bus Jam, it's easy to understand that you need to put the people on the same color to the bus, and even Block Jam uses the same creatives. Or in Screw Jam, with the screws, it's easy to understand the goal. So again, if we think about the creatives, the theme should help you explain the puzzle much more easily and create a lower CPI than just throwing a bunch of items on the screen. It also helps with retention. And again, if you can describe the game you're playing, again, the puzzle with the screws, the puzzle with the bus, Candy Crush would be the puzzle with candies, Royal Match, and so on. Again, As we said, it's hard to stand out in this market. So make sure to choose a common theme, something that many people can relate with, and that will make your game easier to play and much more fun.
Moving on, fourth tip about the creative part. So it's very important to differentiate between early stage when we want to lower the CPI in compared to a later stage when we are focusing on a growth. Those tips are for the early stage, for your prototypes. So 3 things that you need to remember. First, show the mechanic in the first 3 seconds. All the focus should be on the mechanic. Second, make it simple. Increase immersion with ASMR elements. And third, reduce visual noises. Focus only on how you play. Here are some other 2 examples how on the left side we are focusing on the core, very simple, very direct. On the right side, we are focusing on the growth. One last tip about monetization. So in those types of games, you can see there are 4 main monetization opportunities. There are more, but we will focus on the most common one. So first one is to provide extra moves or lives when a player fails. The fail state is the most important part when you build a monetization for puzzle game. Second, you should offer some hints or solutions to the users. The most common one are boosters and power-ups in the bottom line of the screen. Make sure that you use them wisely. Third, which is very specific to a puzzle game, is the skip level feature. Sometimes the level is too complicated, too hard, or too boring, so the user probably will want to skip to the next one. It's another opportunity for monetization. And last one, especially if you use more ads and interstitials, is the option to remove them from the game. Uri, please conclude us with do's and don'ts.
Yeah, that was very fast. So let's do a recap of what we talked about. Again, we talked about why puzzles are strong. You all play the top grossing puzzle games. You see how the hyper is moving to hybrid, and puzzles is one way to get amazing retention, amazing playtime in a simple prototype. Yes, CPIs are higher, but those games monetize much better than the classic hyper casual games or other categories as well, because puzzles have an embedded pressure points. You fail, you need more life, you need more power-ups, you need more coins. We talked about the different puzzles that are trending. Again, the gem puzzles are super strong. We talked about the sword puzzles. We talked about the simulation puzzles that can help you bring nice CPI as well. And we ended up with tips, and we'll give a few more tips. So as we talked about, as Guy mentioned, again, simple mechanics with depth. Again, the puzzle should be very simple. Once the puzzle begins to be a bit complex and you need to overthink, then it's too much. And we said about like the match same 3 colors in gem games, in sword games. This is simple to explain. People know it from other puzzle games as well. The progressive difficulty curve, again, we talked about adding few elements to the game. Make sure that every 10, 15 games there is something new to the user, makes him play different, think different. Polished user experience, again, we talk about high quality graphics, the assets, the controls, focus on that, focus on the core. Again, we know what's special with hybrid games, hybrid puzzles is that they're very simple. You don't need like to be top grossing puzzle games with hundreds of people doing art. We have tested games with 1 people focused on the core, made good assets, very simple puzzle to understand, and had crazy playtime and retention. Another great tip is monetization tactics. Again, on the first prototype, we don't want to test monetization from the web. We just want you to focus on the core. We want to like to do 30, 40, 50 levels, a few new elements every few levels, and just to test that the core is addictive and something makes people play and come back to the game. So monetization will always come later. What we don't recommend to do, again, we said over complicated mechanics. Again, things should be very simple tap, match the free items. You all play the top grossing puzzle. They're very simple. A kid can play and enjoy them. An adult can also play and enjoy those games. So what works is the very simple mechanics. Unbalanced progression. Again, the game should start with very easy, very basic levels, and then become harder in later levels. If you put very complicated levels on the start, then you will see a big challenge. So the game should be balanced, at least on the prototype stage, not fully balanced, but something that we start easy and then become a little bit more harder. Avoid niche themes, as we said. Again, the themes that are easy to explain in creatives, think about creatives, think about the user, think also about the gameplay. Don't go to themes that are very niche and don't work. And avoid pay to win as well. So those are our main tips. Again, keep it simple, see what works, think about the theme. Again, focus on the core. We don't want you to do complex puzzle, very simple puzzles, easy to understand, easy to play. And those are our main tips. And good luck with your puzzle promotion. And I think we can move into Q&A now.
Yeah, we work hard. Now it's your time to write questions for us, and we would love to answer. Okay, Uri, you want to take the first one?
Yep. So again, for the puzzle submission, can we resubmit all games with the new creatives? Again, yeah, you can submit any puzzle game you tested. Again, on puzzles, on gem puzzles and on sword puzzle, again, it's less of the creative who want to bring something new. It's still high CPI games because we target the same users as all puzzles. So again, it's more about bringing a addictive puzzle that will bring higher playtime and retention. Yes, we look at CPI as well, but again, in the first prototype, we mainly will look at the playtime and retention. So not sure that the new creatives will kind of drop CPI. So we just, again, the first prototype goal is to see the 40 plus day one, the high playtime, also a nice day 7 if there is enough content. So again, if you have a strong puzzle games, you want to try new creatives, it's okay. But again, if the metrics are not there, then new creatives won't make it a puzzle hit. So we first need to focus on the playtime, on the retention, and from there we can make new creatives. But first this is what we test in the first prototype.
Okay, you asked what is the most important thing to focus on V1. So it's all about the core. We want to have a strong core, very addicting. And the first thing that we want to see is mainly retention. We want to see the retention, especially day one retention, to see how hooked the games with the users with your game. And in later stage, we'll probably will want to see the engagement of the users. But at first, especially for first iteration, we will probably want to focus on mainly retention day one. Uri?
Yeah. If I use a simulation puzzle for low CPI, is it okay to use a simulation puzzle that doesn't relate to my puzzle game? So again, like this is something that we all know the Homescapes creatives, they have a match-free puzzles, but then they show mini games. Again, we don't recommend it at the start. First, like we want to show just the gameplay. Again, if even it's simulation games, again, we first aim in lower CPI, and then we can make a more deep gameplay. And this is again the difference between, again, it's if you think about Perix creatives, like it's still a puzzle game. They don't bring users to match-free games. They bring them to the mini games. But again, they have much more deep product, much more monetizing product. So again, we don't want to manipulate users at the first prototype. We just want to show them what they see in the creatives. Later on the growing stage, we can start with mini games and other things that a lot of are doing. But the first prototype, we want to focus on showing the gameplay, and this would be the gameplay, the creative. This will be the actual gameplay. So we want to focus like on showing what you play at the beginning, at least.
Someone asked us about tips to improve retention, so we both will try to answer, but I will start. At the end is the $1 million question, how to improve retention. It should be very hooky, and it relates also to the difficulty curve. We need to make the interest very high in early stage. It's better to start with every 1, 2, 3 levels, another feature or something new. We should keep the interest of the user in very early stage of the game. We need to remember when we are working on a game, part of the retention, it's also the graphics, the feedback, how to polish the experience of the user. Sometimes you cannot almost explain exactly how to do it, but think about yourself as a user and not only as a game developer. Many games try to offer something new every level in the first 10, 20, 30, 50 levels. Try to renew every level, even with some tiny element, new color, new object within the game. It will change dramatically the way that the users hook with the game. Uri, do you want
Yeah.
to add anything about retention?
Yeah, more things about retention is, again, don't forget that puzzle users, they look for the challenge. They come because they want to test their brain, they want to fail. It's part of the game. Like, so again, it takes time to balance the difficulty. But think about gem puzzles, for example. They need to think about the next 3, 4 moves ahead because they have limited space in the bar. So it makes them think about the next move. And again, if they don't notice for a few seconds, then they fail and they want to try again. So think about a lot of puzzles are very innovative and don't make users think, but the good puzzles are very simple, but yet they make users think, plan the next moves, and this is what they look in something to tease their brains. So this is what keeps good retention. Again, they come to a puzzle game for the challenge and they get this from the first few levels.
Uri, I will merge two questions into one. If you would recommend a wording puzzle and how to avoid too niche of things.
Yeah, so word puzzles, yeah, we're open to everything. Again, we showed gem puzzles, sort puzzles, a bit of simulation. Again, word, again, it's a category, it's a nice category that's doing very well. It's a niche a little bit, but we have some strong word games in the market that are making a lot of money. It's a niche. Again, if you're expert in puzzle games, in word puzzle games, and you have other games that you did, then you can submit other puzzle games as well, but it's going to be much harder. And around avoiding niche themes, again, in puzzles, again, still the core is important, the gameplay, but again, think about what will bring people back to the game. As we said, the school, the bus, the royal match, for example, the crown. Some things that you just need a theme, it can help you later in CPI. It's hard to say what to avoid, but think about the niche, think about something that is common that everyone can relate with, everyone can play and have fun, and this is like a way to start thinking about avoiding niche and avoiding themes that are too not general and not common enough.
Another question is about the difficulty curve and how to avoid abandonment. So we are understanding that each level probably will have some drop. It's very hard to say a fixed number per level. It depends. It depends on the subgenre. It depends on the mechanics. So it's very hard to say if we want 5% or 7% or 10% between levels. What I do want to say about this part, that sometimes it's fine. We understand that there is some correlation between churn rate and the revenue potential of a specific level. So don't be afraid if there are difficult levels when you see some churn, maybe higher than what you got used to. You should check it with how they played and what was the potential revenue from this game. It's not for early stage, like we're not talking yet about monetization at this stage, but just for future thinking, it's something that you need to take into consideration. So difficulty curve should maintain the user so they won't get bored, but they won't get frustrated. And as long as you keep this flow state, it's supposed to be fine.
Cool. Yeah, I will also have like two questions together. How many levels required for a first test, for the first prototype test, and also what is a good playtime? So again, we want to focus on the core first. We just want to put few levels. We don't care about monetization at the first prototype. Again, we talked about a few elements to bring something new. Levels, again, 40, 50 levels to make something, a few, 2, 3 new elements to bring something new every 10, 15 levels. This is what we aim for the first prototype. And what is a good playtime? Again, our minimum to take it to iteration is like day one of 40% and playtime of at least 1500 seconds. But again, it's like, it depends on the CPI, it depends on the playtime. It can be like amazing retention, but then CPI is super hard. We'll try to lower CPI. So again, it's all about the numbers out there together, the CPI, the retention, the playtime. But again, as we said, like it can be even a puzzle with 30% day one that people consume the content. We see them playing on the level analytics. We saw they completed all the first levels. We see that also CPI is very okay. Then we still work on this game. So again, 40 day one is the average, but it can be lower with okay CPI, with people consuming the content. So it's like seeing the numbers and deciding what's next for each prototype.
You asked about trending themes and mechanics. I think that we went through this one, so we'll move forward. One of the questions is about if you need to have a complete game before submitting. So the answer is no. We do want to see some levels. We do want to see the potential for this game, but we're not expecting you to be fully ready. We know there's a lot of work. That's why we are here for you. But at least at first, it can be a lean version of your concept.
Yeah,
Uri.
another few questions that are around CPI that we'll try to combine them. I have a game with 40% day one, nice day seven, but CPI is very high. Will you be interested? And another question is for the first prototype, is the creative enough to show only the gameplay to get low CPI? So again, puzzle games, the one that we showed, the gem puzzles, the sword puzzles, again, it's not low CPI. You won't get a CPI as a runner or as a simulation games because it's mainly targeting the puzzle users. So again, CPI is not going to be low. This is why, as we said, we aim for a better retention day one, day seven. So obviously the game with a nice day one, day seven is very interesting. We need to see why the CPI is very high. Sometimes it's hard to lower the CPI. Again, on puzzle games, they work because the pressure points user enjoy the game, they run out of lives, they need coins, they want to pay, they're stuck. So CPI in those games at the beginning is not very low. And also when scaling it goes up, but again, it's more of these hybrid games that monetize much better, but CPI is not that low, but still they work in the market. So again, low CPI, you won't get, as we said, you won't get the hyper casual CPI, but you will get much higher playtime, much higher retention. The 20, even we test a lot of games with 10, 20 plus day seven, again, just from a first prototype with a month of work. So again, it's less about the CPI in those type of puzzles. Again, we show simulation games, simulation puzzles that still has the nice CPI, but in gem puzzles, in sword puzzles, in other type of puzzles, we mainly focus on playtime and retention. And again, each case is different. We will see the creatives. We will try to lower them. We will try to bring something new, but it's less about CPI in most of the puzzle games.
I will have a short answer for a long question. You ask if we mean that creatives should be different between in order to low CPI or for growth. So the answer is yes. We understand that it's a different way to tackle the audience. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, when we want to lower the CPI, we should focus mainly on the core mechanic to have it very simple and direct to the user. And at first stage, that's what you should focus on. We are getting closer to an end. One of the questions is about which variant has more chances to succeed, Bass Jam or another common Bass Jam about aliens, Bass Jam settings, or another common puzzle mechanic. What would you say?
Yeah, so I think aliens is one of like saying the niche themes. Again, puzzles should be for everyone, common objects. Again, kids should play it, but also adults. And it's hard to say now which one is better. But again, we talk about keeping a puzzle very simple, a very engaging mechanic, avoid niche themes. So again, going to dark places, and again, puzzle should be for everyone. Again, if my kid can play different gem puzzles and the 5, 8 years old, and also the female that is 50, 60-year-old can enjoy puzzles as well and find them challenging as well. So this is what we look also in the theme, and also in the puzzle, simplicity, a common theme that is for everyone. So again, when you think about ideas, when you think about themes, when you think about mechanics, keep that in mind. A kid can enjoy puzzles, but also an adult, and they will have the same experience enjoying puzzles and easing their brain.
Okay, you asked if you should offer power-ups in the prototype test. So no, it's for later stage. You should focus mainly on the core, how to play, few actions, boosters like power-ups, like other monetization elements is for a later stage. And just before ending, someone said that he haven't yet published a game. If he has a chance to do it with Supersonic, and the answer is always yes. So please share with us your concepts, your prototypes. We are looking forward to get your next hit with us. And I remind you that you have a great chance maybe to win up to $8,000. Uri, I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you all for joining us to this Super Monday. Until next time, I will say thank you very much and see you soon.